Good morning. Welcome back, everybody. It's a good day to be alive. You woke up today, so just remember that today is going to be a great day no matter what, because you are one of the lucky people that actually woke up today. So happy Thursday, April 6th. It's going to be a good day. So remember, your thought feeds your feelings feed your behaviors then predicts your life. So let's have some positive energy today, positive thoughts. Last night had a couple of really nice call outs. Pound yen in particular had a really just clean move to the upside. But I'll cover that in a little bit. We will just hop on into the analysis. So looking at the Forex factory, we have unemployment claims for the dollar at 8:30 in the morning. We have unemployment rate and employment change for the Canadian dollar at 8:30 in the morning. Not really sure it'll make much of a difference. And do remember that today's Thursday. We have a New Zealand bank holiday, an Australian dollar bank holiday, and tomorrow, just like everybody's off pretty much. So it's really like a Friday today. It's going to be lighter on volume, so treat today like a Friday. I'm going to be lighter on my trading. I'm not trading tomorrow, that's for sure, because everything's closed. There's no edge in tomorrow. But today, make sure you're trading lighter. There's not going to be as heavy as volume as usual on Thursdays, as there would be on Thursdays. And yeah. So with that in mind, let's take a look at the charts. The dollar on the weekly chart, so I usually look at the weekly chart typically on Mondays and Fridays, but today's Thursday, but it's pretty much a Friday, so I'm going to look at the weekly chart. Why not? We've been seeing a steady decline here in prices ever since this 105 rejection. We've had 4 straight bearish weeks, but now we're heading into this area of support. Daily chart, we are at the bottom of the support here. Bullish close. So I'm not going to expect it to break support, because obviously it's a strong area of support and we've already grabbed liquidity down here. So if price does break through these lows at some point, probably won't today. If it does at any point moving forward, it's most likely going to be a break, because we've already swept liquidity through these lows here. And so that means then bear sellers are stepping in. So looking at intraday price action, hourly chart, at the end of the day, right? I mean, the dollar doesn't have much of an influence in the market still, so I'm not too worried about having a bias on the dollar today. Moving on to US30 and the indices. Clean up some of this shit here. Weekly chart. Get rid of this cluttered in here. Yeah, a lot of indecision here on the equities. Clearly, as you can see. We are still maintaining these lower highs, running into an area that we've had some just disgusting indecision prior in February. The weekly chart doesn't really have much of a there's really no edge there. So let's look at the daily chart. So we are in this channel here. If we bring this down, in somewhat of a descending channel. lower high, coming into a lower high point, retesting this area of resistance. We are creating on the daily these higher low wicks. So I have a feeling that we get a squeeze up into this trend line here, and then maybe we dump. So it seems like US30 wants to go bullish today, given that yesterday was a doji after a bearish day, and then we've had these higher lows in the wicks. So we'll see. Let's take a look at the 4-hour chart. 4-hour chart saying the same thing. We've had this area of resistance at 33,457. Current 4-hour, or I guess last 4-hour closed bullish and engulfing above that resistance. Current 4-hour create a lower wick to retest, now potentially flipping bullish to push up to this 33,600 resistance. 2-hour chart sitting right on top of resistance as well, still creating these higher lows. But news yesterday, we were still kind of in a range here. Yesterday's news, let me get rid of this. We have highs, we have lows. So we're in the range of yesterday still. And I don't want to trade in this range because that's where all of this just chop from news volume was. So the only way I would take any indice, longs that is if we get a break through these highs, hold the retest, and rally maybe towards these highs. This would be my idea for indice longs later. Again, we still have an hour and a half, 2 hours until I potentially look for positions. Probably about 2 hours. Don't really like trading indices till 9 o'clock. So a lot could happen. But shorts potentially decent if we can break through this trend line here, retest, and then look for sells through these lows. I definitely would consider that as well. So it's either going to be longs above these highs or potential sells through this trend line here for US30. US 500, I was in sells last night with these lower highs looking for a pushback down towards these lows. I went about halfway to my take profit, didn't quite get the bag, which is usually why I don't trade indices overnight because, well, there's not really any volume. Looking at the daily chart, rejected these highs, created a lower high. 2 bearish candlesticks coming back down into potential support. We're sitting on top of an area of support. 4-hour chart. Let's draw our fibs. So we still haven't created a higher low. 1-hour chart seems like it's ready to squeeze a little bit to kind of draw through these highs. We're now creating this wedge breakout potentially. You have this wick, bullish candle, and start running back up towards these highs. So you could probably start running early in the equity stay, it seems like. I'm not going to take it. No volume in the market. However, it does look nice. As long as we maintain structure this way, I'll look. I mean, at this point, I don't know what's going to be what it's going to look like at 9. But if we do break through these lows, this trend line, then you can look for a nice break and rally to the downside. I don't know where we'll be at, but if we're on this breakout sequence here, then look for some kind of, like move, whether we're up here or we're still chopping around here, looking for a move. I don't know where we'll be, but regardless, if we are on this breakout sequence from this wedge, then I'd look for a rally back up to fill some of this move from Tuesday. US 100, the NASDAQ, get rid of some of this bullshit in here. Sitting at a strong area of support, which is where I was hoping it would come to, because now it's pretty clean buys. If we draw our fibs, haven't technically created a higher low yet either. We are sitting at a strong area of support regardless after rejecting this prior pivot point here back from August of last year. Going down to the 4-hour chart. 4-hour chart sitting there as well. Potential bullish engulfing. 1 hour broke through the lows of yesterday, grabbed some liquidity, bullish close, rally, and it just seems like it wants to come up and fill again this move from yesterday. Tech was notably weak yesterday, and you had the US 500 and the Dow just pretty much neutral. So tech was very weak yesterday. You saw some rotation there in the markets. And so now what I'd expect is to get something like this. Hopefully it doesn't go before 9. It looks like it's getting a little bit of a... It looks like the equities might want to get going a little early today, but don't let that fool you. And trade your plan and wait until 9 or whenever. But I'd recommend waiting until 9 when volume comes in. But again, we're waiting for this resistance break, this support break. As far as trading this range, I mean, look, it's a clean range. Very big. So I would consider trading this range. It depends how price action setting up into the morning, whether we run the highs, come back below, and then we look for something like this, or we are finding, some resistance here. Maybe then I'll look for some kind of sells and a lower high retest, something like that. So I will consider trading this range if it comes to it. It's a very clean and big range. But we'll have to see what happens because a lot can happen in 2 hours. So moving on from equities, let's hop on into the metals. So let me start fresh here because since price is so freaking high up here at literally all-time highs. All-time highs are sitting right at 2070. So here's the thing is you have to ask yourself, trading is it's a game of probabilities. And we're clearly extremely bullish right now. So is gold more likely to retest this magnet of a 2070 all-time high? Or is it likely to just completely reject in no man's land here and just dump? I mean, odds are that it's going to come back up and it's like a magnet. It's going to come back up and retest this 70 area. Weekly chart creating these higher lows on the wicks, pushing bullish through this resistance. So let's note this resistance here. Daily chart. Although it's broken out of this resistance, if you draw the wicks from this wick to this wick, we're now sitting right on top of that. Indecision yesterday, to no surprise, you needed a day of indecision from this bullish breakout here. Today, had a lower wick to retest this 2009. Now getting bought up from that. 4-hour chart, 4-hour bullish engulfing. Let's draw our fibs. So finding some support here at 2009. Hopping onto the 2-hour. So I think I'd prefer longs given that price action is likely to reach 2070 at some point. If not this week, then probably not this week, but then that definitely, next week is most likely going to happen. Unless NFP tomorrow, but nobody's trading, so. But do keep in mind that you had this news yesterday that caused some volatility in gold. Now, it did break through highs here, had a nice bearish engulfing, and just had a lot of volatility here. So I do want to note that we'll probably run into some kind of resistance in these areas here. One-hour chart. So I would consider longs. This is going to be a tough one today because we are in this range here. And with gold, it could sit here and consolidate for a couple of days before it decides to get going. So I don't want to jump the gun on anything, but if I do decide to take a position here, the open of the day sits right here. We're finding resistance there now. So what I potentially might look for is some retracement back down towards the EMA or VWAP area, and then look for maybe a push into volume time. I prefer buys just because of how bullish we are. We had the sell-off last night, retested structure, buyers absorbed that entire move, and so now let's see if we can get a higher low towards VWAP and then a push. This would probably be the best idea today for gold. Something like that. But I wouldn't get too greedy and anticipate a big breakthrough here. A, because there's not really any news today, and B, because, well, after this massive move, it tends to want to consolidate for a little bit. So I'll look for something like that in gold. Looking at oil, the black gold. Weekly chart, again, still sitting here at resistance. Still have that gap underneath of us. Daily chart consolidating right under resistance here. Very, very strong area of resistance, but this was a pretty bullish move, this gap from over the weekend from OPEC. And so the fact that it's consolidating here and not filling that gap tells you that this is bullish and we're probably going to continue higher. Probably not this week. 4-hour chart, a lot of wicks to the downside. 2-hour chart, maybe a squeeze to the upside if we break through, as we're starting to break through now. Finding support here. Nice 2-hour rejection wick, closed bullish, starting to break out. So this is probably going to get a nice squeeze out of it. Back up towards maybe these highs of 81.40. Potential play if you wanted to play it off of it closes out of here in 10 minutes and then something like this. Now, am I going to trade it now? Unlikely, because there's not much volume in the market. But I do like the setup, and I do like the structure that oil's starting to provide here this morning. So I think we do get a squeeze up, but I think it might be choppy given there's no volume in the market yet. Oil market opens not till 9 o'clock, so an hour and 40 minutes. But if we just hang out here for a little bit, you know, I would definitely prefer longs over shorts, unless shorts came below 79.60, but that's unlikely. Oh, you never know. Shorts below 79.60, longs above 80.36. So we'll see how it plays out. Pound yen. So I had this trade overnight, and I still think we're going to get a pretty strong rally out of it. But I want to break down pound yen on why I took this, and actually this could be a very important lesson on, although it may seem that market's breaking structure here, breaking these lows, you know, new lower low. You have to understand. That's why it's important to do a top-down analysis first, right? Not a down to top analysis, because if you just go in looking at this chart here, it might seem bearish to you just because you broke some of these lows here. We're now creating lower highs. But however, let's just go top-down analysis, and then you'll understand why that was probably, you know, that we're bullish, right? So daily chart, we're creating these higher lows back from March of 2020. So this is the low of COVID. To then 2023, January to February to March. So each month has been retesting these lows. You have this area of support and resistance been one of the major pivot points here. Because if you notice, we have the lows of this consolidation, the highs of the consolidation. So it's more or less as well the 50% mark of this consolidation here that we've been in. We also have been putting in these lower highs, and we just broke through, right? We broke through that. We also, if you draw all over these highs, because I do technically the highs of the bodies break a structure, or I guess where the close is. We closed above. And I drew my Fibonacci's from the low to the high. And we came back down to retest 38.2% retracement. Came back to retest this structure. This is also 163. It's a major quarter point. Major. When you have structure that falls on a major quarter point, 163, psychological level, a pretty strong pivot point here. We had a lot of bullish price action when we're above it. That's something to keep in mind, right? And then so if you go down the charts, to the time frames, 4-hour chart, and here's the thing. So you're like, Tyler, I broke this low here. Wouldn't that be a break of structure? All right, well, let's take a look at the Fibonacci's here. Let's draw it. Did we create a higher low? Let me get rid of this so you can see it better. Did we create a higher low here? No, it didn't hit 30.2. So you keep bringing it up. 38.2? No. 38.2? No. So keep going. So this is not a valid higher low because it never retests 38.2% retracement. So now we're at the valid higher low point, 38.2. So in this case, once we break through this low potentially is when we'll have a break of structure. But it's not a valid higher low until we do break this high here. So at this point, I'm looking for just a strong bullish run out of here. And I expected, I wanted to see a longer take profit. But again, Asian session trades I don't get greedy with. So when we were sitting here overnight at this area of support, I was looking for longs. We had this break of liquidity here. We had then another higher low here. Finding some support at the quarter point. And so I was basing here. So I took a long somewhere in this, somewhere in here, just as we were basing in here. Stop below that low. Take profit was just sitting back up right around just this point here. And yeah, did his thing overnight, and now it's pushing. So I expect it to continue higher. However, trade idea for today. So we had this breakout, had a retest there already, and now we're pushing bullish. So really, I mean, maybe something like this we can look for. I expect pound yen to reach let's see, probably right around here. Because if you notice where price is, whoops, we had this strong rally up, dip to fill that move, and then boom, right? Look at that right now. We have a strong rally up, dip to fill that move. Same exact area of price. This is exactly where we dip back down to retest VWAP, and then boom, right? And then boom. So let's see if we can come back up to retest. My idea is 164,400 for today's price action. Right around this area of resistance here. So we'll look for something like this today on pound yen. Yeah, and that's the range on that is 56 pips, so enough. Might be around a 2 to 1, 2.5 maybe. But yeah, 15-minute charts definitely setting up pretty clean for that move up, right? So looking at the 5-minute chart, 5-minute chart's pushing up pretty heavy from this higher low, breakout point. So at this point, what I'd like to see is just some kind of retest on the 5-minute for a push. Then I'll take the longs. So this is what I'll look for on pound yen. Yeah, that's just about it. Film. Hey, bro, sell or buy on what? If you're talking about pound yen, I'm looking for buys, 100%. Looking for buys against 163.850. But that's it. That's my analysis for the day. That's everything I'm looking at. Going to hop off and trade with the guys on Zoom. Going to trade live with us. VantTradingForex.com, and we'd love to have you there. Have a great rest of your day. Remember, tomorrow's a holiday, so you shouldn't be trading. So have a great weekend, and I will see you next week. Peace.